From the crates that we pilfer through the ritual to one of the books Dynamo carries, Fairfax Industries has its corporate fingers in seemingly endless places. But what exactly do they do? And is there something sinister to the CEO of Fairfax Industries, Maximilian Fairfax? And what exactly did the heir to the megacorp Pocket steal that caused such a commotion? Let's talk about it. Hi, I am the Riddler, and welcome back to the Question Circle Archives, where we dive deep into the lore and occult leanings of all the world of Deadlock. But this time, instead of spells and magical relics, we're going to talk about something much more palpable, more corporate mystery. What goes on in the head of a CEO in the world of Deadlock? Well, to begin with, Fairfax Industries is an arms manufacturer. They make all the weapon items that we buy and use in the game, and presumably several of the guns that the characters actively use in Deadlock. Similar to other fictional entities, this is far from the only thing this corporation has their hands in. They are one of the leading names in occult spirit weaponry, meaning that the rounds we fire off in a game of Deadlock are just as immaterial as the spirit fire that we throw at each other, which, when you think about it, makes a lot more sense considering things like weighted shots and leech and all of those kinds of things. Formerly, this company was so massive and omnipresent that they actually had sovereignty of what would become the 50th state of the United States, which, in Deadlock, is the island of Cadenza, a state purportedly created by and for use of the Fairfax industry. However, due to an unknown situation, this sovereignty was revoked. We don't explicitly know what happened, but I do have a pretty strong theory. Though, to properly understand it, first we have to talk about everyone's favorite engineer, Maggie McGinnis. Maggie is, in short, an absolute genius. At the age of 4, she was turning toys into engineering marvels that most people in the industry could barely hope to scrape together, and by 15 she was able to refine the souls of the dead into usable material and energy. This, of course, garnered the attention of Maximilian Fairfax, who sung her praises to all the most elite names in New York, touting her as the next big thing, which she very much was. McGinnis was discovered and taken under the direct arm of Max when she was just a teenager, and quickly became famous and known as a kid genius and prodigy. And like most children who grow up around a bunch of adults who do nothing but praise them constantly, Maggie is a bit of a bastard. She's gone on record several times explicitly saying that she knows how many deaths her Fairfax projects cost, and rather than defending herself whatsoever from these claims, she simply doesn't care. She believes that ethics are for scientists who can't think big enough. All of her guns, all of her bombs, everything that she makes for Fairfax Industries, she feels no remorse whatsoever for how those things are used, and no matter where they're used. On top of all of that, McGinnis seems to have no grander desires than to be praised for the work that she does as head of military R&D. She's explicitly mentioned that she would be totally fine being a wage slave so long as the wage is the fat check that Fairfax currently cashes. There's also an undercurrent of feeling that she's better than pretty much any other scientist. She prides herself on working one-to-one with her inventions and not relying on theory to make the moves and splashes that she does. She mentions very often that she works in a machine shop and not a laboratory. Another note in her Bible of brashness is that she seems to be actively aware that some of the walls she throws out mid-game completely shafts her team, and she doesn't care in the slightest. She's a monster, honestly, is the only way to describe her. However, one occasion where McGinnis's bulletproof confidence was very, very openly tested was during what the Fairfax faithful call the Cadenza situation. The details of what exactly occurred in Cadenza aren't yet known to us, but whatever they were, they worried McGinnis that she might lose her job. And I don't know if y'all have ever worked in a corporate position before, but the head of R&D fearing for their job is a sign of a massive fuck up. This wraps back around to my theory. I think that the Fairfax Industries was likely testing something, some new bigger weapon that I could only equate to being a nuclear warhead or something akin to that. Perhaps it is even what was in Pocket's briefcase that they were testing on the island of Cadenza. But no matter what it was, they are currently under sanction by the Environmental Protection Agency for improperly disposing of spiritual waste. I think that directly ties to the Cadenza incident. I mean, think about it. It's not really a far leap in logic to assume that whatever weapons or spiritual nonsense they were testing on the island of Cadenza, when they were done with it, all those spent rounds and things, they probably just dumped in the water around it. After all, it is an island that Fairfax completely, totally owns and had total sovereignty over. Especially knowing how flippant McGinnis is about the fallout of her projects, I could absolutely see her telling everyone's like, oh yeah, all those spent casings and bullet shells and, possibly still irradiated nuclear warheads, just dump them in the water so we can keep moving. Let's get the new next thing out. So while we don't technically know what exactly the Cadenza situation is, I have to be honest, that's probably my guess for what it is. In addition, this is probably a good time to talk about Eldritch Tactical Solutions. The ETS is a paranormal military company and a subsidiary of Fairfax Industries. Its workers are soldiers of fortune, aka mercenaries, that are hired to do a lot of things. We don't know explicitly what their on the books job is for Fairfax Industries, but using the phrase soldiers of fortune definitely brings certain things to mind, especially when you keep in mind the fact that Fairfax Industries formerly owned the island of Cadenza. A sovereign island and a personal military are the makings for a not good situation, to say the least. However, despite all of the pressure being put on them both by the Environmental Protection Agency and the rest of the United States, according to McGinnis, Maximilian Fairfax was not perturbed in the slightest by the Cadenza situation. He kept his movements steady, and as we can all tell, Fairfax definitely weathered the storm. This ironclad willpower is equally reflected in Maximilian's child, Aaron Fairfax, better known to us as Pocket. At the ripe old age of 23, Pocket has been in hiding for 5 years after an assassination attempt that they heavily suspect their father ordered onto them. Having only come out of hiding, deeply believing that the wish from the patrons can give them what they need to stop their father. Pocket generally tries to avoid both confrontation and killing, still clinging to the hope that they will be able to stop Maximilian without actually killing him. This favor and kind-heartedness is not returned by Maximilian, who is the lead suspect for the person that hired the ever-talented cat lady Calico to kill Pocket all those 5 years ago. Pocket narrowly escaped with their life as the bullet they caught to the chest nearly pierced their heart. However, even before dispensing Calico onto them, Pocket was not living a very free life as the heir to the Fairfax Empire. Pocket was in an arranged marriage with none other than Mina, who holds a burning grudge against Pocket since their disappearance meant that she never got to marry into all of that Fairfax money. Luckily, Pocket is not without their allies as well. Dynamo, for one, is Pocket's godfather, and formerly a close friend of Maximilian's. This makes sense as we know that Professor Dynamo has always been well funded with his research, and having a buddy like Max will do that for you. Though, when Pocket asks him about his father now, he gives a very lukewarm response, saying that Pocket's father is a quote-unquote complicated person. In addition to that, when Pocket was bleeding out from the near-fatal chest shot from Calico, it was Mo and Krill who took Pocket in and protected them, showing them how to move through New York unseen, both by using the literal tunnels and sewer systems and the underground markets that they wield to their advantage. And so, Pocket aims to win the ritual to stop their father, but the question is, stop him from doing what? There's one glaring aspect about Pocket that I've yet to actually talk about, and that, of course, is Pocket's briefcase. What exactly is the creature inside of it? We don't know entirely, of course, because the game is still in its fledgling states, but there's a lot of interesting implications for what the creature within the pouch actually is. Pocket claims that whatever it is, it was never intended to be used as a weapon, but perhaps the plague that it releases when Pocket ults is a biochemical weapon that Fairfax had been keeping under wraps. Was finding it the final straw that broke Pocket's back, prompting them to leave everything that they had known, knowing that taking the case with them was basically guaranteeing their father's wrath? Perhaps. And how precious must the contents of this briefcase be if Maximilian is willing to send an extremely deadly and usually successful assassin after his own flesh and blood? Could it be that he's just that heartless of a businessman? I mean, maybe, but whatever's in that case, the Paradox Gang and Yamato, as leader of her own criminal family, also want to get their hands on it. Perhaps most interestingly, Graves' lich friend has also set their sights on Pocket's briefcase. The mere sight of it is enough to prompt Warden to gravely warn Pocket that the case is more dangerous than anything else that Pocket is tying themselves up in. And yet, despite all of that, despite throwing away an untold fortune, a cushy life, and trading it all for bullets and sewer water, Pocket refuses to let the briefcase go for even a second. It makes you wonder what's inside. But there is one more Fairfax that we can still talk about. Walter Fairfax, presumably an ancient ancestor of Pocket's, or at least some ancestor of Maximilian's. There's a statue of Walter Fairfax in the garden behind the Baroness Hotel. He's depicted as an old man with frogs crawling all over his legs. The statue is also what appears in Pocket's background in the Hero Select screen, so clearly there are close ties here, and the creature that we can see slight glimpses of when the briefcase opens when Pocket attaches to a hyperline does seem frog-like. But that would imply that this creature, whatever it is, has more ties to the Fairfax family than anything else. Perhaps a long time ago there was some frog spirit that helped found all of Fairfax. Maybe there was a deal with the devil made so long ago that something must be kept under wraps, and that's why Maximilian is going to such lengths to try and get the briefcase back. Who knows? We can't say. Those are all stories for next time. Hopefully we'll get an update. If we do, I will absolutely jump on it immediately. This is by far one of, in my opinion, the most interesting things that are in Deadlock currently. Everybody wants this briefcase, but we have no idea what's in it outside of a frog and a plague, and that's strange. But supposedly, according to Pocket, it's not intended to be a weapon, so it's something that just is. Perhaps it's the magical relic that let Fairfax achieve the status that it has in the magical world today. We don't know. We don't know. But thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for listening. This has been the video on Fairfax. I decided to tie in McGinnis and Pocket because their backgrounds are so closely related to the mysteries of Fairfax Industries, and I plan to continue that trend anytime we're talking about like a broader concept in Deadlock. Since the lore is a little sparse, the game is still in alpha, I'll be drawing in any relevant characters and sort of doing character profiles inside the videos to flesh them out and make them a little longer. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, leave me a comment down below, drop a like if you liked the video, and drop a subscribe if you want to help us on our journey forward. And until the next time that I see you, drink some water, wash your hands, tell someone you love that you love them, and be good people.